student, this is class 8 chemistry chapter 1. Title is matter. This is session 2. Last session we have discussed the property of matter, and we also have seen the characteristic property of nature. Now we will try to discuss the second activity, that is second property of a matter. First property was particles of matter are very small. We will start with this property. Particles of matter have their interparticle space, and like last video I will explain the things in detail, and the students please follow the mouse cursor. I am pointing the mouse cursor at my laptop. I am using Adobe Premiere software for recording the video. Now, second property, particles of matter have their interparticle space between them. It means that one particle can easily fit into the gap of another particle. Now, this is not always happening. If the gap is large enough, then the particle will fit into the gap. If the gap is not big enough, the particle will not fit into the gap. Now let us check this activity. Activity number 2. Take 100 ml of water in a graduated cylinder. Graduated cylinder is a cylinder in which measurement is written on the outer surface. Now add 20 grams of sodium chloride to it. Dissolve the salt in water by proper stirring with the help of a glass rod. When all the salts has dissolved in water, you will notice that there is no increase in level of cylinder water. Now, students, where the water and salt have adjusted, now we can say that salt molecules fits into the gap of water molecules. What it actually concludes, this shows that there must be some space between the particle of water in which the salt particle gets accommodated when dissolved. This is also called solubility phenomena. Now, the space between water molecule in this case, or in general case, the space between particle is called interparticle space or intermolecular space. Students, please, you can pause the video and repeat the video 2-3 times to get the actual course content. You are very much liable to get the things if you repeat the video 2 or 3 times. Now let us go to the third property written here. Particles of matter are in constant random motion. It means the atomic movement describes the particle movement, or the molecular movement describes any material movement. We also know degree of freedom in a gaseous molecule is greater and degree of freedom in solid molecule is limited. Why? Because solid molecules have greater forces of attraction. Now we have another activity going on here. Please follow the cursor. One of the experiment done by Robert Brown. Robert Brown was English scientist. Now check this experiment and what Robert Brown has observed in his experiment. Robert Brown gave the evidence for the existence and movement of particle in liquid. He suspended some pollen grains obtained from flower in water and looked into the water through a magnifying glass. He observed that pollen grains were moving throughout the water in a zigzag or irregular manner. Why were pollen grains moving in an irregular manner or zigzag manner? Now there was explanation. This is because water is made up of tiny particles which are also in random motion, and that random motion was due to molecular movement, and due to molecular movement of water, the pollen also start to move. The pollen grain move in such a way that they collided with moving particles of water and zigzag motion was formed. This aperture random motion of suspended particle on the surface of liquid or in air is known as Brownian motion, and since it was first noticed by Robert Brown, it is also known as Brownian motion. Students, you can see the zigzag motion here. I am pointing the mouse cursor. Brownian motion is shown in figure 1.1. Now let us go to page number 4. Another property is written here which is called diffusion. As we have seen that molecular movement is obvious in nearly all the things, so by the movement everything tries to intermix with each other. Diffusion is a phenomena of intermixing of two or more substances, and this can be proved by this activity. I am pointing the mouse cursor here, activity number 3. Now take a gas jar full of bromine vapor that is reddish in color and invert another gas jar containing air over it. Air has no color. If we allow to mix the gases, then we see that after joining both the jar, the total jar is now not colorless. Actually, it obtained some color. How? Because chlorine reddish brown vapor has also movement, air also contains gaseous molecules and it has also movement. Coming to property number 4, particles of matter attract each other. There exists a force of attraction between the particles of matter which keeps them together, but the magnitude of force varies from one type to another. For example, piece of chalk can be broken into pieces very easily, while a piece of coal requires a greater force to break, and metal pieces, copper, iron, and steel cannot be broken easily, although they can be broken, but substantial amount of force is required. Next point on page number 4 is state of matter. The magnitude of intermolecular force of attraction, intermolecular space, random motion and degree of freedom actually defines the state of matter. And there are 3 states of matter called solid, liquid and gas. Solid has a definite shape and size and volume, liquid has definite volume but no shape, size, gas has neither shape and not a definite volume. You have studied these points in class 5 and 6 also, 7 also. Coming to next point, kinetic theory of matter, the theory which reveals that any substance, whether it is solid, liquid or gas, is made up of tiny particles called atom, molecules or ions which are in constant random motion is known as kinetic theory of matter. There were some of the postulates given by some of the physicists. Now we will see 5 particular points in this book. Main postulates of this theory. First point, the matter is composed of very small particles called atoms and molecules. Second point, the constituent particles of a kind of matter are identical in all respects. Students, please recall that I have told you that all particles have different structure. Iron particles is different from silver particle and silver is different from gold, but all the molecular definition or style of a matter of iron will be similar. Third, these particles have space or gap between them which is known as interparticle or intermolecular space. Fourth point, there exists a force of attraction between the particle of matter which holds them together. This force of attraction is called interparticular force of attraction. Fifth point is particles of matter are always in a state of random motion. They possess kinetic energy which increases with increasing temperature. Now, how we can explain this in terms of kinetic theory of matter? In solid state, the particles are closely packed. There is a strong force of attraction between the molecule and intermolecular space is very less, so they are not able to vibrate very much. They can vibrate only to their mean position. This makes solid hard, rigid and difficult to compress. In gaseous state or liquid state, things are little bit different. In liquid state, in case of liquid, particles are not very closely packed. there is a degree of freedom, hence they are loosely packed, they can flow, so they can be compressed. Kinetic energy is higher than solid in liquid, so liquid has a tendency of flow, so they are also called fluid. In gaseous state, the intermolecular force of attraction is nearly negligible, and hence they are able to move or flow very much. Now, students, in figure 1.2 you can see the figure. Solid molecule very closely packed, gaseous molecule loosely bound, and the nature of liquid molecules is in between. The gaseous molecules are very apart, so they are able to flow. Table 1.1, which is on page number 5, differentiate the property of solid, liquid and gas in terms of mass, shape, volume, packing of particle. We have seen these points in class 6, class 5 and in class 7 also. Let us check this property. Mass of solid, liquid, gas is fixed. Yeah, it means definite, but shape of solid is definite, gas has no fixed shape. Volume is definite in case of solid and liquid, gaseous volume is not definite. Solids are very hard packed, gas are very loosely packed. Difference number 5 and 6 are similar. Intermolecular force of attraction in solid is very strong, in gas very weak, and reciprocal wise intermolecular space in solid is very least, but in gaseous very high. Liquid can flow, gas can flow. In terms of compressibility, gas are highly compressible, and rigidity, solids are very highly rigid, and kinetic energy possessed by solid is lowest, but in case of gas it is highest. Now, solid, liquid and gas can be converted into one another state, and this is triggered by change in temperature. Change of state can be triggered by temperature. If you pay close attention where the mouse cursor is, solid, liquid and gas. If we heat a solid, it changes to liquid. If we heat a liquid, it changes to gas. If we cool down a gas, it changes to liquid. If we cool down a liquid, it changes to solid. This can be proved by following example. Water is a liquid which can be freezed to ice by cooling, and water liquid can be vaporized by heating, that is gaseous state. Now we will see example of burning candle. On burning a candle, the solid wax by getting heat start to melt down, and again when it's cool it changes to solid wax state. Now students, we will go to next page, and we will also try to cover more points, and please revise the first lesson, please revise the second lesson, which was this, and I will again come back with more videos, information stuffs. So please revise your studies. Bye bye.